Hey guys, Magic here, and this is my Volatile Detonate Dead Trapper build, same as last league. There's some nuances here, but first we're just gonna start off with a map. We'll just do a quick ass tunes, or let's do a lookout. It's only tier 6, but just really to kind of get you guys an idea of how it feels. 84 right now. I've done up to tier 9 or tier 10 actually. So everything's been really smooth, pretty quick. So let's Volatile Dead. Detonate Dead. I'll check out my clear speed, guys. If I run past a pack, it's mostly because I can just do this, and then the balls will take care of the rest. As you can see, Volatile Dead is great for clearing packs. The only thing about Volatile Dead is it doesn't kill the bomb initially, so like you'll notice it brings up the orbs, but doesn't like fucking insta kill everything. Instead, you kind of have to like let the balls do the work. So that's kind of its downside. Whereas Detonate Dead, as you can see right here, just pop the monster and boom's dead. So pretty good for killing bosses, I'd say. Here, let's go ahead and look at it. So like I said, 84 right now. We're running the Mirebo, which is the Faded Fen Coil, which allows us to 6-link our Detonate Dead. It really doesn't matter if you use this or not. Like, just now that they've added it, it's a really cheap way to get started with any trapper build, as long as it needs cluster traps. But besides that, 6-link here. That would be Controlled Destruction, Ellie Focus, and Detonate Dead. I feel like that's kind of the idea behind these traps, is you're just looking to do a ton of burst damage, nothing else. So any other support gems are kind of out of the question. And then we've got our shaped gloves. These are like 1 chaos. This Fen Coil was like 5 chaos. Like, in fact, actually no, I found this one and faded it myself, but you can buy one really cheap. Same price though. And then for this guy, it was like a 1 chaos. I got this like 8 hours into the league, so like I had this setup going within like 8 hours. So don't feel like these are uniques you have to get. In fact, if you're in trade league, you can get it. Anyways, we've got trap, Ellie Focus, Volatile Dead, and Cluster Traps. Trap built into here. So there's a 5-link and a 6-link. Here we've got our Tinker Skin. This is actually where we put our Cluster Traps and all that jazz for Desecrate. And then here we've got Curse on Hit, Increased Curse Strikes, Orbit Storms, and Flammability. And then these are just our one-off gems here. Which would be Fire Trap, Herald of Ash, and Clarity. Fire Trap, I'm just leveling that to try it out later. The uniques that we use are Tinker Skin for obvious reasons, Frenzy Generation, Trap Cooldown Reduction, and then the other unique is Praxis, which is a great unique that pairs very well with Mind Over Matter. You gain the damage that you would take as life, or I'm sorry, as mana, which is basically your life. In my honest opinion, Praxis isn't required, but it is one of the 2 uniques you definitely want to run between Praxis and Laviangas. So with Laviangas, really the story goes without Laviangas, when you're playing and you're fighting a boss or like a really dense pack in an abyss or something, or even in a breach, you're getting pegged by little hits that really suck because, yeah, you'll dodge most of them, but the ones you don't dodge are going to eat away at your mana. So like, I noticed that what would suck is that I'm not too worried about my mana running out, for like to save my life, because you have plenty of life on this build. Like, I've almost got like almost 6k on the build. The problem is you can't use your traps anymore. And so long story short, the way that you fix that is with Praxis, every time you get hit, you start regenning mana. So that's one way to deal with it. And this is kind of how I did it in the past. But because I think it's Torment, I think, which brings back Laviangas, this league. So this is exclusive to the Torment League or whatever. Also allows you to basically not have to pay for your skills. So this unreserved area is pretty much equal to this Lavianga's mana restore over 7 seconds. Long story short, it's going to regen my mana maxed out. But what's cool about it is it takes a long time to do it. So with enough mana pool, it just makes all my skills free. And obviously just turns that entire thing into completely health, which is awesome. So this is an amazing unique for Mind Over Matter builds. But really, you can choose between the two. You don't have to ring them both, but I run them both because I, no other reason to run any other mana flask. Besides that, that's kind of the build. I'll show you guys the passive tree. I ran this build in the past, so it's pretty much been this. The only thing left to get now are these jewel sockets here. But the rest is AoE, which you don't actually have to take this. Mind Over Matter, EO, Phase Acro, all this great jazz. In fact, I've been thinking this isn't so mandatory because of Tinkerskin, but it helps with the throwing speed and the additional traps, because you will need the additional traps because we throw so many. So it does make a big difference to how many traps you can have out. And I'll explain that right now, because one of the important parts is Pyromaniac, and this is going to be what we transition into around level 90. Pyromaniac allows you to regen a shit ton of life, and this is a really good node. Everybody kind of picked up on that when they first saw it, but traps are being slept on anyway, so what does it matter? It's going to be mostly used for mines. One of the obvious things is you can run Righteous Fire with it. So as of right now, I'm running Mirebow until I can get 5 or 6 link going. But Pyromaniac is going to give you 20% life regen. 20% life regen is about double what's on the tree. There's life regen here, but it's all outdone literally by Pyromaniac's 20% if you can achieve it. How do we achieve that? Well, first off, with traps now, those are 4 from the Desecrate. And after we've thrown 4, those will immediately trigger. And then after that, we'll throw another 4, which is one of our attack spells, which would be Volatile Dead or Detonate Dead, whichever one. And when you do that, that's going to be an additional 4 more. So that's 8% life regen in that very moment, in that very instant. And so in that less than 1 second time that you throw those two, that's a lot of damage. Now, what's the point of all this? Well, if you throw enough of them, for example, in a single target moment, you can throw traps so closely back to back with this much cooldown reduction that you can have up to 20%, which is a big deal, because once you get to 20%, you're literally regenerating enough life to sustain Righteous Fire. I did the tooltips and all that jazz in Path of Building, and that's kind of where it's, at least on paper, it looks like it works. That's a lot of damage. So that's just something that's coming out later, but as of right now, we're just kind of getting through the Atlas. I'm trying to get as far as we can. But I just wanted to show you guys the build so far. It's been super good, super easy, very, very strong boss killer, great for clearing maps. I guess if it had to have any weaknesses, one of them is you can't deal damage immediately. So like in a situation where you're facing a monster in a corridor or you're getting cornered, it's difficult to, I guess, throw a trap and it'll kill them, because your force trap always has to be Desecrate. And we get enough throwing speed where we can just literally do this. Boom. That's already like a, the foundation is laid. But I guess that the point is, like, you throw so quickly with the trap throwing speed we take on the tree, that it all makes this very easy. I guess the problem is if you panic, so you panic and you don't throw your Desecrate down, you're going to be like, where's my damage? And you can die that way, because I've died that way. But besides that, I mean, that's really the only weakness of the build. We take advantage of a lot of defensive mechanics, like Mind Over Matter, Phase Acrobatics, and which is also buffed, which is really nice. And things like phasing, evasion, all that jazz. So, also later, potentially blind. It's a cool node, but I might just take this instead. The AoE and the area damage, the penetration, pretty good. This might be better, because our damage isn't lacking, I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's the build. There'll be more updates coming. I'm planning on running Righteous Fire like I told you guys, but that's from really more around level 90. And the only reason I'm waiting for level 90 is because not only do I need a certain amount of life regen, but you also want to have your jewel sockets open, so you can kind of put in what you need when you kind of transition, because we do have to drop Mire Bow in order to do that, because we need to Rise of the Phoenix, and we're also going to need to run Purity of Fire. That's that's actually the only two requirements for the build. You can actually do this without running the life regen, but I do want to try probably run Sanctity and potentially this. But right now we're 84. So we've got 6 levels to figure that out. The first things we do have to do is get these jewel sockets. So that's 6 levels there. That's 2, 4, and then 6. And then I'll be 90. And I might even thinking about not getting that last 2. And instead, of course, like I told you guys, pick up maybe this point. Maybe pick up this point. But from in Path of Building, like I'm seeing, we may not even require those nodes to do this. That's kind of the idea. Another idea that I guess I had, and I'm probably rambling at this point, is the unique Malachi's Simula that I vendored. Its faded version gives a ton of X to Y damage, which would benefit this build greatly. I guess the problem with the build is that it runs 1 Herald, which is Herald of Ash, and that's only because it's so good now. It's giving us 12% more damage, which is kind of a big deal for an aura, and it doesn't interfere with our mana really at all. That's an afterthought. Besides that, the build's pretty cool. I think you guys should definitely give it a try. I think traps are really underrated right now. There's a lot of discussion on whether they're viable or not, and what can we do to make them a little bit easier to bear? Why do we have to run Tinker Skin, all this jazz? But in my opinion, I think trappers are in a good spot. There are some things that can be done to make them funner, but ultimately in Path, like, if you make trappers so strong, they'll just be spellcasters, and I don't want that to be the case. I think trappers are unique, and I have been playing them since the beginning. So thanks for watching, guys. Please stay tuned. If you want to see more of this, I'll definitely try to get this Righteous Fire going as soon as possible. See you guys later.